My name is Susan Erin Presnell. It's Presnell.
May I go on?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Still good morning, Dr. Presnell. How are you?
Good morning. Good.
Can you please tell the jury what you do for a living?
I'm a forensic pathologist. I work at MUSC in Charleston.
How long have you been doing that?
I have been on faculty there since 1999, so going on 26 years.
Can you tell the jury what a forensic pathologist does?
Well, I think people are getting more familiar with what forensic pathology is, but just kind of to back up, forensic pathology is actually a subspecialty of pathology, the general field of pathology. And so pathology itself means a study of disease. And so pathologists diagnose disease. So like if you go to your doctor and get a biopsy of something, that tissue will go to the pathologist, they'll look at it and they diagnose it. Is it cancer, is it not? So I trained in general pathology, but then I subspecialized in forensic pathology, where instead of just looking at a piece of tissue, we're looking at the entire body of somebody that's passed. And we are looking for diseases, but we're also evaluating for trauma. That process that we do that evaluation, of course, is called the autopsy. And then through the process of autopsy, we'll determine a cause and manner of death.
Can you tell us what your educational background is?
So I went to Clemson way back when and majored in microbiology. After I finished Clemson, I moved to MUSC at Charleston for medical school, and then I've stayed there ever since, so that makes this easier. So I did my 4 years of medical school at MUSC Charleston. After medical school, I chose pathology as my area of specialty. Did that at Charleston. Then after that, I chose the year subspecialty in forensics done in Charleston, and after that, I was hired as a faculty there, and I've been there ever since. Along this way, I've taken the board, so I'm board certified in general pathology as well as forensic pathology, and then I also have a license to practice medicine in the state of South Carolina.
Thank you. And you mentioned earlier autopsies, that one of your duties is to perform autopsies. If you can you estimate how many autopsies you have done in your career?
So I'm over 200 a year, and so at 25 years, it's over 5,000.
What conclusions are you able to draw after completing an autopsy?
Well, it completely depends on the type of case. So again, I'm evaluating for diseases. A lot of our deaths are natural deaths, but we also evaluate, like I said, trauma, so we can have a traumatic cause of death as well.
Can you sometimes differentiate between, say, suicide and homicide?
Oh, well, yeah. So part of the process when we're evaluating the cause of death is to take in consideration the injuries as well as the circumstances and give our opinion as far as manner of death, which of manners of death, there's 4 types. Natural, which I made reference to earlier, suicide, homicide, and accident.
Okay, thank you. I forgot the manner of death word in my question. Have you ever been qualified as an expert in forensic pathology?
Yes.
How many times?
Again, an estimate over 100.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time I would offer Dr. Presnell as an expert in forensic pathology.
Any questions or challenges?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, I find this witness to be an expert in the field of forensic pathology.
Thank you, Your Honor. Were you asked to perform an autopsy on the victim, in this case, Gregory Rice?
Yes, I performed an autopsy on November 10th, 2020.
Can you describe the remains as you received them?
Well, Mr. Rice was decomposing. So just the process of decomposition causes tissues to deteriorate. So he had a lot of what we call skin slippage, where some of the skin has slipped off. He also had some maggot activity. So after death, flies can lay fly eggs on individuals. Those hatch into maggots, and the maggots actually eat some of the tissue. So he did have some maggot, quote, injury, postmortem injury as well.
Did that decomposition and maggot activity affect your ability to make certain conclusions as to wounds?
Well, certainly it does hamper some of that, yes.
What was the first thing you did once you received Mr. Rice's remains?
Well, I kind of follow a standard protocol for all my autopsies. So I'm going to photograph as I receive as the body is received. So when the body is brought into the autopsy room, I'll take photographs. I kind of take photographs at all different steps of the autopsy. But then after that, we'll have to get them undressed so that we can evaluate everything, see everything. And during that process, I'll evaluate all the normal measurements, height, weight, that kind of thing, as well as injuries. Before we go to the inside to look at what's going on inside, we'll do ancillary studies depending on the type of case. Like for gunshot wounds, as in this case, we'll do x-rays to help us locate the bullets. After we finish with the external, then we'll go inside, we'll look for anything that's injured, any disease process. We'll also try to get some kind of fluid for toxicology testing. And then I examine all of the organs individually. Sometimes I'll take samples to look at under the microscope, sometimes I won't need to. And that'll be the main steps of the autopsy. After that part's done, and I'll go and put the autopsy report together.
So you mentioned that you did x-rays in this case. What if anything, did those x-rays show?
Oh, well, they show multiple bullets inside of Mr. Rice.
When you examine a body, especially in this case, do you have a diagram that you use to note the location of different injuries?
I do, yes.
This one's easy. This one's very hard.
Your Honor, I'd like to approach the witness with State's Exhibits 71A and 71B.
Yes, these appear to be copies of the diagrams that I did at the time of autopsy.
Your Honor, I would ask to admit Exhibits 71A and 71B into evidence.
All right, any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
State's Exhibit 71A and 71B admitted into evidence. Okay.
Your Honor, I'd also like to publish them for use during Dr. Presnell's testimony.
All right.
We'll start with 71B. And if you could, once it comes up, while it's coming up, how many different wounds were you able to determine from Mr. Rice's body?
He has at least 5 gunshot wounds, potentially up to 7. And I'll show you on the diagram. We'll walk through them. Is this a pointer or does it change?
That's actually a microphone, I think.
Oh.
This. Okay. Whoops. There you go. That top up. If you hit that top button, apparently it is.
Oh, okay. All right, so just in general, before we go over the diagrams, he has 5 definitive gunshot wounds. He has one to the left side of the head, one to the left side of the chest, 2 to the left hip, and 1 to the right thigh. All right, so we're going to go through those. In addition to that, he has a couple other holes that connect up. I just cannot definitively say that they're gunshot wounds. So this first gunshot wound, and when I say first, I don't mean that this is the first gunshot wound that happened. It's just in the order that I've done, that I've enumerated them. Is to this left temple area. You can see it's highlighted in pink. There we go. Right there. It's the only thing highlighted there. This bullet actually goes obviously from his left. We're on his left side. His left towards his right. It's going in an upward direction, and it's also going towards his back. So it's going in this direction. It goes into the brain. There's not a lot of substance or architecture left to the brain because it's mostly liquefied at this point. But there is a bullet inside the brain, and we recovered that and designated that as the bullet from the brain.
In certain circumstances, are you able to tell, based on soot or stippling, whether an approximate distance of shooter to victim? So
I mentioned that I evaluate injuries, and obviously this was a gunshot wound. There's a bullet at the end of it. But the other thing we'll look at is just trying to interpret like what type of, not just what type of injury, but other characteristics of it. So for example, with gunshot wounds, one of the things that we'll try to look at is whether there's evidence that the gun was a contact gunshot wound, like the barrel of the gun is actually against the skin, whether it's a close range gunshot wound or whether it's a distant gunshot wound. And the way that we tell is if there is a rim of soot around the entrance wound, that would be a contact gunshot wound. When the gun is pulled away, there is it's not only the bullet that is exiting the end of the barrel, but you also get what you call, or what is gunpowder. If you think of the gunpowder like little pieces of sand, when the bullet exits, the little gunpowder can exit as well, and those little pieces of sand can strike the skin and cause little abrasions. We call that stippling. If the gun's close enough, that will happen on the skin. So contact is the soot up against the skin. Close range is, you may or may not see soot, but you'll see the little stippling marks, and distant is beyond that. Now, all that explanation to say that I can't tell in this case because the skin has slipped away.
So based on the victim's decomposition, you weren't able to tell?
Correct.
Okay. And I know you can't tell the order of gunshots, but would that wound in and of itself have been fatal?
Yes.
And then if we can go to 71A. What, the pronoun? Yeah. Okay, yeah, she doesn't have a pronoun. Might have to, yeah. Okay, so if you can just go through the other wounds that you were able to document.
Okay. You'll see a couple marks on here that didn't go anywhere. The pink ones are the entrance gunshot wounds that are definitive entrances. So again, first, but not necessarily first, we have the one to the left chest.
Is it not working?
Oh, that's okay. It's pretty well highlighted. So you have the one to the left chest, and it is going from his left towards his right. The only thing that I can tell is that it does damage the stomach. It ends kind of in the midline area, kind of right around where the aorta would be, but we have parts of the aorta missing, most likely from maggot activity. So I can't tell for sure if it did hit that or didn't. So that's the one to the chest. Then you'll see you have two to the left hip that are highlighted here. Their pathways are really close together. So think of it as two bullets going in. One bullet heads towards the tailbone, where I find the bullet.
You might have to stand up. I think there's a...
Okay. All right, so just to kind of reiterate, there's a gunshot that goes into the left chest, and it's going in towards the midline of the body. Definitely goes through stomach, may or may not have hit aorta, and I got the bullet from inside the body there. Then we have two on the hip. These both go in. One bullet ends up being in the right soft tissue, the soft tissue of the right hip, and the other ends up being in the tailbone. So I've got both of those bullets. And then the last one you can see here is into the right thigh, and it just goes backwards, and I get a bullet there. So I have retrieved 5 bullets from inside the body. And then you'll also see up here, there are there's areas where I have the circles colored blue. So if you look on the back of the right arm, so over on this right side of the diagram, you see those 2 blue circles?
Can I? Maybe I can come over here since our pointer's not working. Are you pointing to this area?
Yes, the 2 blue circles. Those 2 holes connect. I did x-rays in the area, but they don't really show any like bullet fragments or little shredding bullets or anything. So I can't be definitive that those are gunshots and not necessarily just maggot activity. And then on the left forearm, so in the middle here, the 2,
Is
yes.
that where you're pointing here?
Yes, the 2 blue circles. Those are 2 holes that also connect. You see I have it on, one's on the pinky side. Well, actually they're both on the pinky side. One's up a little bit closer to the top of the forearm, and one's a little bit further down. Those 2 holes connect very nicely as well. Again, not necessarily any projectile fragments along the pathway, so I cannot be 100% definitive that that is an additional gunshot.
Would the fact that the victim's body had been basically submerged in water for approximately 5 weeks, would that have an effect on your ability to call those gunshot wounds versus possible gunshot wounds?
It's more that there was maggot activity and that maggots consume tissue, and so I can't be 100%. I mean, they look like gunshot wounds, but I can't be 100% that that's not maggot activity.
And you said that you recovered 5 bullets, so Your Honor, if I may approach, 139 has already been admitted. Are those the bullets that you recovered from Mr. Rice's body?
Shall I open it?
Yeah, if you need to, I can.
Well, I mean,
Are you, if you're not able to tell without opening it? Yeah, let me get.
that's a little intimidating.
I know, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll just.
Here, I can.
I got it.
There you go.
Okay. I need the knife.
Sorry. Taylor, do you have scissors?
Oh,
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks. All right. Okay, let's see. So we have the first one I'm looking at is labeled chest bullet. So that would be the one that I got from the midline of the chest. And it has the autopsy number that I'm associated with Mr. Rice. And then not his name, because when he came to us, he was originally not identified. So it has what we designated, the name that we gave him at the time of autopsy. Next one is the bullet from the right leg, or it would have been the right thigh area, again with the autopsy number and the designated name. Next is the bullet that we got from the right pelvis, so that would have been towards the front, the right hip area, with the autopsy number and the designated name. And then the bullet called sacral bullet, which is the tailbone bullet. Autopsy number and name, and then finally the bullet from the brain with the collection envelope, the autopsy number and name.
Before I move on, did you at some point send bones from Mr. Rice's body to be examined by a forensic odontologist?
I believe he came in and picked them up.
Oh, okay, thank you. You mentioned earlier that you will often do, or always do, a toxicology exam as part of an autopsy.
Yes,
Was one done in this case?
it was. We couldn't get any, we would like to send blood to test for toxicology. Because we couldn't get any blood, we sent, it's just some of the fluid that we got from the chest cavity. And that was tested and showed THC or marijuana.
What types of substances does that toxicology test for?
It's supposed to be comprehensive and pretty much for like all the normal typical drugs of abuse: amphetamine, cocaine, benzodiazepines, marijuana, opiates. But in this case, because of just the quality of the sample, they actually couldn't test for ibuprofen and some of the diazepines or benzodiazepines. But it did test, like I said, it did pick up the marijuana. It also tested for alcohol, which was negative as well.
In your opinion, excuse me, in your opinion, did any of the substances that you just testified to that were found in his bodily fluid contribute to the victim's death?
No.
So what is your opinion as to the cause and manner of Mr. Rice's death?
Right. Well, so I didn't specify any individual gunshot. I just said multiple gunshot wounds to the head, the torso, and the extremities. And the manner of death is homicide. In medical legal vocabulary or definition, that would indicate death at the hands of another.
Court's indulgent.